I picked some names that I think you'll be familiar with: Fairbanks, Chamberlain, Austin, and the list of names is right here. So when you get to that part, and he'll walk you through all that, you're nowhere near it. There's a list of the names of the stones that have pink flags on them, and those stones might be somebody that you know. So if you want to clean a stone of somebody that you know or are familiar with or interested in, check the list and they might be there.
And we have a preservation studies program there, focusing on historic preservation, the core of which is cemetery preservation. Because one, students seem to like it, and as you guys know, being here, there's a tremendous need for it. So we're actually working all summer. The students we have here with us tonight are actually interns at Glenwood Cemetery in Flint. And they're learning all of these kind of, they're learning this process along with a lot of other different kind of skills. And then we take the show on the road because there's only so much work we can do over the summer, all right? There's only a handful of us, right? So the point of these workshops, we do these all over the state. We actually are starting to go out of state to do them, to show communities what's the proper methods, you know, for repairing the headstones, what's the best method for cleaning them, what are some precautions you want to take, and that way you guys, once you're empowered with this knowledge, you can then take and come back out and like Luann said, she wants to rope people into this, you know, and now that you know how to do it properly, you can come back out and care for this cemetery, and we've got one more that we know that's on its way back to kind of being restored. As one caveat, I'm actually going to hand it off to my students if they're going to run the workshop while I set up with another couple of folks some repair demonstrations.
When you start cleaning a stone is just dump water on it. The further you get from dumping water on it, the more likely you are to damage the stone. The soap that we're using, Orphis, it is actually a livestock soap. So if it's safe to use on livestock, then it's safe to use on the stone. You don't want to use Dawn or anything like that because it actually has bleaching properties and it will damage the stone. And we're going to be using a soft bristle brush. We're not using anything hard because then we're going to get closer to damaging the stone. So you want to dump water on it? You want me to?
I got it.
All right.
And you also want to make sure to do this after the last frost in the spring, because if you do it before that, obviously water could get in cracks, and then overnight if it frosts, it could expand and whatnot. It would just be really bad for the stone. Yeah. Right. So after you get it wet, you're going to take one of these scrapers, and you're just going to try to scrape off any excess biological material that's on there that's built up. You're not really going to do a whole lot with this, so this is just pretty much to get anything that
Throwing that right at me.
You do this after you pour the water.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So then once you get what you can, you'll take one of these scrubs and get the soapy water on it, and then basically just scrub as much as you can.
And that helps remove any biological matter that's left on the stone. And if you come back in like a week, like the stone will turn like a reddish brown after applying the D2. And then if you come back in like a week, it'll be cleaner than anything you could have tried to scrub off it.
And that's after you use
The orifice.
the water, yeah.
Yeah, after we, yes.
Yep, that'll be the last thing that we do today.
The soap, excuse me.
Say something about the back, and I interrupted you.
Oh, you guys can scrape off the back and the sides and whatnot, but for these tall, upright ones, we'll scrape off the front, the ones with the lettering on.
And they need to be a special scraper like this, correct?
Yeah, anything that looks like that, pretty much.
Because you don't want to use metal.
Yeah,
No,
you just want
no,
a
we do
plastic
not wanna
one,
use
something
metal.
that's not going to damage it.
Yeah, metal
Right.
would likely chip it if you got too aggressive with it.
Now, what's the best way to read that? I mean, if I wanted to read what it said, what could I do to do that?
To get it more enhanced, you mean?
Yes.
Well, after we clean this all off, and we do have another scrubber that is, it's kind of like a toothbrush, that so you can
The
actually
little
get
bristle brush.
yeah, the bristle brush, so you can actually get in there and clean it out. But then, like she was saying, after you spray the D2 and you come back in about a week, it'll be a lot clearer.
It'd be a lot.
So that'll
Yeah.
pretty much clean up anything that's still there.
So what happens if you're in a cemetery out of state and I want to read that? I'm not going to come back in a week.
Right.
So what I suggest you do is take a big piece of white paper and a pencil. And you can lay it on the stone and you can just kind of rub over it
Like a
lightly.
rubbing, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll get a rubbing and a real clear look at what is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the few Gothic stones we have in the cemetery. So you think that was the stonemason?
Or the headstone people, but that would sort of be the stonemason, right?
That's what I'm
From Detroit.
Yeah.
So this came a long way from back in the day then.
Well, I just bet they didn't have
They didn't have a lot
They
of
didn't
place.
have the Fenton Monument, you know.
We don't have a place up in Petoskey. It comes from Grand Rapids, so.
Yeah, this guy here, Perry Lamb, he's one of the founders of Linden.
Yeah.
And the Lamb family, which is along here, are some of the earliest settlers here in Linden. It's pretty cool, huh?
Or something a little more nice.
No, actually, this is perfect. God knows. No, that's perfect. It just reminds me, I gotta make a donation to Center of Hope.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, when we pour a form, we pour a form and we stick like whatever we measure on a piece of wood, like usually a 2x6,
Right.
and then maybe a couple of pieces of plywood to make it a little thicker. Put it in there, let it set up for an hour or so, then pour that out so you can stick the stone in like that.
Okay.
Because that's always preference, and then whether you never, as opposed to putting the stone in when it's wet.
Yeah.
And using, because then if you have to somehow, because sooner or later that'll break.
Yeah.
And what we have to do is we have to come out and 20 years later and break that away.
Chip it away.
And then and if it's marble, you could break the marble. So we make the form before the stone sets.
This is actually just livestock soap and water. That's all it is, with an animal hair brush. If you use a steel wool or some sort of metal wiring, it's gonna actually scratch the stone, degrade it, and it's gonna look awful. You can pick these up at any farm supply store, Home Depot, Lowe's.
Yeah, because you were saying the Dawn and that has chemicals in it.
Yes, it's gonna degrade it, it's gonna make the stone fade, it's gonna actually eat into the soap. When the air gets colder, it's gonna freeze in these little pores, and it's gonna expand. So it actually cracks it. That's what happened to these. So the water gets in between the monolith and the base, it expands, it cracks to the sealant, and then it eventually falls over. Or it was hit by a branch or wind or something.
So that's why you use like an epoxy to put it together, kind of?
Yes, we also use mortar, so like cement, and it's gonna essentially weld them together. If we stuck like a metal pole into it, it's gonna be the same issue. Water's gonna get in there, it's gonna expand the metal, contract it, make the hole bigger, and it's eventually just gonna wobble off. So if we use epoxy, some sort of mortar grout, it's gonna essentially weld them together, like I said. Make it much stronger than any other bond. It's gonna last years if done well.
Because as pastors, you move from place to place. The longest I was ever in a place was 8 years.
Wow.
And, you know, this year was going to be our 21st year.
Wow.
I know.
It's not hot.
I'm just like, I don't even know what to
Anybody
say.
else
When
agree?
it's done.
I mean, that's about
Thank you, Curtis, for it.
How's the paint coming along?
So that's the new foundations they use for the stones.
About. Sometimes we do pour real concrete, but if we want to do that, we're gonna have to dig out this entire area, take out the old one, pour new concrete. So this is just a quick fix that'll last forever.
So you put the pea gravel and you mix it in, huh?
Yes. It acts as cement, keeps it all drained and nice.
Simple one. It's a small stone, and you might ask why bother to do it. And the main reason is the stone is going to deteriorate much faster. The images on it are going to deteriorate much faster if it's horizontal than if it's vertical. So if you can find a way to get that stone put back up, do it. All right, and that's what we're going to show you the way we do it here. Over here, Luann asked me to do. Let's start over here real quick. I'll show you one here that I started working on. And these are why you want to kind of hire a professional for this. This is a stone that we would eventually put back together. All right, and again, we caution people about this kind of work. It had already been repaired once, so I had to start by, remember all the things that the super soft brushes you used and the super gel. Well, the first thing I got out was a hammer and a chisel, right? So, so that's why you want to be careful. So I had to kind of take off the epoxy, and then you need a really clean surface, right? So I actually had to go in here with a wire brush and get some of that dirt off, and then we go back and then we have to clean that dirt off. And when we clean the dirt off, we actually use acetone. All right. So again, completely different from the process they told you. Acetone's a corrosive, right? But it dries really quickly, so it's one to use. But you have to have a very clean surface to put this stone together. And we put these back at a two-step process. We use a kind of epoxy. Again, one of the reasons that you want to make sure you find somebody that knows how to do this, it's not the stuff you can get at Home Depot or Tractor Supply like everything down there, right? We use a special epoxy that's designed to work with historic marble, all right? And then after it would be epoxied, we would then come back, all right, and then fill in the cracks with mortar, all right? So that does a couple of things. That would strengthen it, give it a little bit of strength, but then it still allows what you want when you repair these stones. You still want some permeability. You want water to be able to go in and then flow out. You don't want a solid piece of plastic here, there in the stone, because water is just going to get trapped in there, and then it's going to turn to ice, and it's just going to pop that seal again. So the mortar does that, and we just used a standard line mortar. The difference is we actually put a latex binder instead of water. And what this binder does is it helps bind it to the stone. So all of you guys cleaning, you saw that sugaring process that happens on these stones. Imagine how hard it is to get those surfaces to stick together once they clean. And that's why, so it takes a lot of specialty products that you just can't get at your local hardware store to do it. We hire, again, I get mine from a company called Bondstone. There's a couple of reputable companies out there that we use. So, and then also too is sometimes these stones are larger and they're heavy. You see that giant swing set thing on the back of the van there? That's actually that could lift a ton. And if we were to do a demonstration with that, you would have seen my students wearing steel-toed shoes, hard hats, all that kind of stuff. There was a guy by Coleman that actually last year was out working by himself, and a stone fell on him. And the fire department had to come out and lift it off of him. You know, and it was like trapped on his leg. So again, so it's dangerous work. The big stuff is dangerous work. So that's why you want to kind of do that. But let's take a look at this one, what we're gonna do with this one here. I'll show you guys this. We use a product called MonuGrid. And Tyler, would you mind grabbing a MonuGrid? Right, you see that one leaning right up against there? So there's a couple of ways you could do that, right? You see there's a lot of cement bases out here. I use a product called MonuGrid because I'm getting old and feeble. So I don't want to lift big, heavy cement things, right? And it's easier to work with than pouring a cement base or anything like that. And so what we've got down here underneath this cinder block is Tyler's got it. It's actually a plastic grid. And then we fill it in. You could fill it in with a substance. We use pea gravel because it comes in convenient bags, right? But you could use crushed limestone if you wanted to, whatever kind of material that you have. And then we've taken a cinder block and set it down on top of it. And so what that's done is, because it's Michigan, we know that soil's gonna move, right? You know, for a lot of different reasons. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this stone, and we have an old base that's still in here that's broken, but we still have part of it. We're gonna take our stone and put it in between this old base and this cinder block. We're gonna pack some more pea gravel around it, all right? And then pack some dirt around it. And it's a temporary fix in a sense, right? You know, because this isn't gonna last for, you know, 100 years. And it's actually gonna last quite a long time actually. But the important thing is we've gotten the stone upright. And one nice thing about this is we're not doing anything we can't undo, right? So that's another thing, you know, that if you're out here, you want to kind of be mindful of that, right? What are you doing that's permanent to the stone? You know, the cleaning that we didn't do anything so abrasive that we did anything. It would be nice to know that those stones are going to look as pretty as they are forever, but we didn't do anything permanent to the stone. 20 years from now, somebody's going to have to be back out here cleaning it again. So think of that. So that's kind of a bummer way to end the workshop, though, you know. But that's something to kind of keep in mind. You know, what are you doing permanently to the stone? Do you have the know-how to permanently alter the historical record, which is what you'd be doing, right? You know, so just kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to put this in place. You got the level there handy, Todd?
I do.
Yeah. So we're just going to put this in place and make sure it's good and level. All right, you want to pour some pea gravel underneath there and pack it down in there really well. Right down here. And then we'll test it again. Okay. Let's test our level. Well, I love it. I love it. Let's go this and back, so right about there. All right, that works. Yep, good job. Nicely done. Love that. So the really important way, and we're actually covering up a little bit of the inscription here, right? But the important thing is the inscription's preserved. So the really important angle that you want to get is leaning backwards or forward. So these stones that are all leaning forward like that, that's a tremendous amount of tension that's on that stone, and those will eventually snap. All right. So a lot of times when we go around and we do a repair like this, we'll grab what that's perfect. Yeah. So we'll just fill in the hole and pack it in. Thank you, sir.
Do you ever take down, like, this is obviously grown up around it, do you ever just take down the ground around it a little bit?
Sometimes, yeah. But you've got that there. There's a little bit of inscription that's going to be covered up there, but for the most part, we're going to be able to get most of that stone right there. And then if you want to, like I said, this isn't a permanent fix, you know. We can always come out here, dig up the stone a little bit, raise it up a little bit, you can clean it off a little bit more and everything, you know. So as a matter of fact, while Tyler's doing this, we can, if we want to, raise it just a hair and see, you know, it's pretty easy to do. But we want to keep it in there. We want that base down in there for the stability of it. Now, I'll tell you what you guys have got here. Since we're in Genesee County, you probably have it. In the 1960s, a man named Merle Carey went around all over Genesee County. He was the curator for the Sloan Museum. And he did a cemetery read. He did a reading of basically just about every cemetery in cemetery. So I'm willing to bet that Fairview was big enough for him to do that. And if you go to the library, there's two ways you can get it. You can buy a copy of it from the Genesee Flint Genealogical Society, or if you go to the public library and you ask to see the Perry books, You can see them, they're right in the genealogical reference section, and there's probably one. So if you've got like this one here, you know, or some of these that maybe you can only read part of the inscription and everything, you know, 50 years ago, you could probably read them a lot better, and they're in that book. So it's a really great resource for us. So yeah, so we've got this here. All right. Nice, temporary. It's no longer going to get run over by a lawnmower. It's it's not going to there. Yeah. And if you know, if they do ever want to come out, if the crew ever wants to come out and do a permanent fix, if they want to pour a new base and notch out the base and set it in there or something like that, they can. But this will at least preserve the stone for longer than when they did it. We don't. You know how it is. We don't know when you're going to have the resources to do that.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
you know, it could be next year,
Well,
it could be
you
10
don't-
years from
You
now.
don't know when this tree may have to come down.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
then
That's
you're
exactly.
gonna-
That's
then
another
you're gonna
part.
be disrupting
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. So we've at least helped to preserve the stone a little bit longer, and you can see it's beautiful. It's got these little swivels in here and everything. It's got the little lamb on there.
I think it might have been a kid.
It definitely was. If it's got a lamb
It's
on
got a
there,
lamb, yeah.
So it definitely was, yeah. So, and then we have another one over there. We did a little, we would have epoxied it together if we weren't doing the rain. But we did a little, did the same thing with a small little obelisk that's over there. You know, same kind of thing. I just like to demonstrate. I think the monogrid stuff's pretty nifty to use. And a big grid like this, these are about, I think they're about $17 for the full size one. And they come in different kind of sizes and everything. And you kind of, you know, it's a little bit more expensive, but then you have to figure in your time and labor and mixing cement and all the stuff that's involved in that. And as you guys know, mixing cement's not fun.